Capturing the voice of the customer is going to be one of the most important things you do in your project. So it's a four-step process starting with identifying customers. Now that may seem obvious, but in some organizations it's not so clear who the customers are. Recognize that the customer here is used as both internal customers and external customers. So identifying the customers, you may do this using a SIPOC if that's helpful, warranty database, customer list, distributor list, this sort of thing. Okay, so identifying the customers, and then once you identified who the customers are, you want to make sure that you segregate them into appropriate buckets. So some organizations have sort of premier customers. These are the frequent buyers or high dollar buyers, or for other reasons the organization feels they're very important customers. Maybe they're strategic, and you want to segregate those from maybe the more general type customer. So once you do that, then you want to go and collect their needs. And collecting the needs from a segregated customer list, they may be very different. The technique might be different, and the questions you ask might be different, so you have to be thoughtful about that. Collect their needs. My preference is interviews. There's really nothing better than a face-to-face interview with a person. And if that doesn't work, then maybe a phone interview. Online surveys are fine, or email type surveys, those are fine, but I don't think they bring out the essence of what you can gather in a phone interview or a face-to-face interview. Once you have their needs collected, then you want to analyze those needs, and all you're trying to do here is you're trying to put them into some high-level categories with some appropriate detail down below where it's given. Now, it might not be given. Many customers speak in very general terms, and you may only get some high-level needs, but then there's other customers who are very specific about what they want, and you want to make sure you capture those as well. And then finally, and this is the whole point of capturing the voice of the customers, you're trying to turn these into CTSs, or critical to satisfaction. Critical to satisfaction is that thing that's going to permit us to go and design a product or service or improve the product or service. Questions that you can ask the customer are really up to you. This is meant to be to get you thinking about what kinds of questions you might want to ask. In my opinion, one of the most important, if not the most important question on this list is this last one. Ask your project sponsor, ask the premier customer, whoever you believe is the largest stakeholder. Ask them this question: when this project is finished, when it's complete, you, Mr. or Ms. Champion or customer, will declare it successful if, and let them tell you what that is. Just so leave it open like that, and really listen to what they say, because that should be what guides you in your project. Now, as I just mentioned, what you're trying to do is you want to analyze the needs by sort of categorizing these high level, and each of the colors here would tend to indicate maybe a different concept. So this is one high level need, that's a second high level need, etc. And then under this high level need, let's call it red, there's some detail behind that, or detail that sort of supports that. Now, this is common to do, but it's also difficult. If you wanted to do it with sticky notes on a whiteboard or a wall or somewhere, that works great. You're able to move things around and kind of logically categorize things. If you want to make it portable so you can send it around the organization, then you may need software. And I would recommend two software. One is FreeMind from the folks at MindMap, or the other one is XMind. Either one, they're both freeware, or I think you can buy upgraded versions, but the free version is very, very useful and very functional. So, as I just showed, you've got high-level needs and detail. Here are your high-level needs, and then the detail would look something like this. Right, so there's your high-level need, high-level need, high-level need, and now you've got detail behind that. So this is a nice way to capture the voice of the customer, categorize it, and then again, if you need to move it around the organization, you can put it in electronic format. If you don't need to do that, if just using sticky notes on a wall and then perhaps taking a photograph of that works, then that really is the preferred method, because you're not wasting time, trying to learn a software, trying to put it in software. And then finally, of course, what we're trying to do is create the CTS. Now the CTS, it says here, is comprised of 4 components: the need, the specification around the need, the means of measurement, and then some target. The target is optional. Many times you won't have a target, but certainly there's a need and a specification of some kind, and then a mechanism to measure that. And these now, the CTSs, is that specific direction on what to go and improve or create if it's a DMADV project. And when you meet the CTSs on a given project, you'll very likely come up with 4, 5, or 6, some number like that of CTSs. And when you meet those CTSs, when you improve a product or a project or a process rather, and all of the CTSs are met, you can pretty much be assured that now the customer is happy, because after all, the CTS is the representation of what the customer wanted. And by meeting those, you will have met the customer needs. Now, there is something called the Kano analysis, and Kano analysis is an excellent tool. It's something to get familiar with. You might expect, though, to use a Kano in a DMADV project, although they certainly can be used for DMAIC. But the Kano analysis is a very sort of complex and thorough methodology of gathering voice of the customer. It consists of question pairs, one in sort of the positive and one in the negative tense, as it were. And you may have seen these kind of questions where you've been in a questionnaire and you're asked a question, and then sometime later you're asked another question, and it looks very, very familiar or very similar to one you just answered. Well, chances are this is a Kano type questionnaire, Kano analysis. But again, you would typically only use the Kano in a DMADV type project where you're trying to design a new product or a new service, and you want to be very comprehensive in gathering the voice of the customer. On the lean and DMAIC side of these methodologies, you usually don't find a Kano analysis. Just soliciting voice to customer, asking that open-ended question, what do you want to see when this project is done, is usually sufficient.